I want to congratulate you and We the World on the 20th anniversary of 11 days of global unity. Together, you, me, and we can create a better world and have fun doing it.
Welcome to the 11 Days of Global Unity Summit, celebrating the 20th anniversary of 11 Days of Global Unity. My name is Jana Larsen, and I am the Human Resources Director and the coordinator of the Economic Justice Campaign of We the World, as well as many other things for We the World. Today I'm excited that we will be joined by Raheen Fatima, Preston Pressoir, and Heidi Little, who will be talking about children and youth. For the full 11-day schedule, you can register for free by going to we.net, and you can see replays of the recordings. You can also make a contribution to support We the World by going to we.net. Thank you. Now, let's bring in my co-host, Rick Ulfik. Rick Ulfik is the founder of We, the World at We.net, and the co-creator of 11 Days of Global Unity. Welcome to the broadcast, Rick Ulfik.
Thank you, Jana, and thank you all so much for joining us. I and we are deeply grateful that you're helping us to celebrate the 20th anniversary of 11 Days of Global Unity. As Jana said, my name is Rick Ulfik, and I'm the founder of We the World at we.net. Each year at the 11 Days Summit in September, we bring you visionary movement leaders and activists, profound dialogues, and calls to action. And this year, to celebrate the 20th anniversary of 11 Days of Global Unity, we are featuring extended conversations with Dr. Jane Goodall and Dr. Riane Eisler, plus summit panels on each of the 11 summit themes, which range from unity to environment to human rights, freedom, and peace. For the full 11 days summit schedule, you can register for free by going to we.net, or you can go to 11 days of global unity.org, and the 11 is two two ones. 11 is a numeral. There you can watch replays of all the recordings. Before we bring on today's extraordinary speakers, I want to acknowledge some of our amazing partners who we support and collaborate with during 11 days of global unity and all year round. The UN International Day of Peace NGO Committee, the UN Summit of the Future, the Unite for Peace Coalition, which includes Unity Earth, Peace Week, the Sign Network, One World, and We the World. Also, the Deep and Rapid Transformation Convergence at the Cathedral Saint John the Divine. I'll say it again. At the Cathedral Saint John the Divine, Pause the World in Times Square, and Pace e Bene Nonviolence Campaign and March. What an amazing movement representing literally millions of people working to achieve global unity. And all working with We the World and the We campaign at we.net. So, on today's panel, we are excited to have Preston Pressoir. Preston is a young change maker determined to help people in need, focusing on environmental justice issues. He is a member of the Roots and Shoots Youth Council of the Jane Goodall Institute, USA, as well as working with the Hudson River Estuary Restoration and Conservation Group. Heidi Little is founder of International Children's Month, the Center for Advancement in Social Emotional Learning. She is also a highly recognized vocalist, songwriter, and recording artist, and she is campaign leader of We the World's Peace Campaign, the Peace Campaign. And now I would like to introduce Raheen Fatima, who will be leading today's discussion. At age 16 and living in Pakistan, Raheen Fatima is a award-winning peace and climate change activist, Sustainable Development Goals ambassador, stand-up comedian, theater actor, teacher, aspiring sustainability entrepreneur, and podcaster. Working with International Children's Month, Raheen is currently the leader of We the World's Children and Youth Campaign. Thank you, Raheen, for bringing up the topics for today's panel and leading the discussion. Welcome to the broadcast, Raheen Fatima.
Thank you so much for having me on. That was such a great introduction, and it's an honor to be here. For the audience, I've been working with We the World and International Children's Month for about upwards of 5 years now. It has been a long, long journey, and we've received a lot of love from the people that see, from the people that support. And like Rick said, there's a lot of ways that you can support, and we've seen that in the past. So thank you so much for having me on. Now, as for this discussion, we want to, with respect to the 11 days of global peace and unity, I wanted to keep it all throughout the youth. What is happening in the world, I feel as a young person. We also have Preston over here. And so I would like to just put the topics out there and start a roundtable discussion so that everyone can share what is it that they're doing, what their work is. If they want to add anything to the introduction Rick already had made, so that we can do that. So some of the topics that I really want to explore is empowerment of young people. I want to talk about youth activism, and then countering social media disinformation as well. There's so many things that are happening around the world today that I myself, as a young person, I do feel hopeless. There are moments that are very hard for me to battle as a young person, and I really want to bring this up in today's session. And most importantly, like we do in almost every session, we want to talk about making this society, this global society, from a me to a we, as Rick does, from a me to a we. So here are some of the themes that I would want to be exploring. I really want to start with Preston. So Preston, I'm so excited because this is the first time that we're actually meeting. So we've heard your introduction. How about you tell us a little bit about your work and thoughts about these themes? What do you think about youth empowerment? What do you think about youth activism, at being an activist yourself? So let's hear a little bit from Preston.
Hello, everyone. As you heard, my name is Preston. I'm a member of Jane Goodall's Roots and Shoots Youth Council in the USA. And I just want to thank everyone for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. I'm so glad to be a part of this. I love We the World and everything you guys are doing for the 11 Days of Global Peace and Unity. And I'm so excited. And thank you, of course, Raheen, for the wonderful introduction. So a little bit about my work. I joined the council last year, and I've really loved everything that we're doing. And they've given me an opportunity to work on what I'm passionate about, which is environmental racism. And I'm from New York. I live in New York my whole life, and you see New York as like the pinnacle of like, oh, the big city, the greatest city in the world, but it has a lot of issues that go unseen, especially by when you go through all the glitz and glamour of Manhattan. You see a lot of the struggle of people, lower income people, specifically Black and brown people and people of color, who are disproportionately affected by environmental racism and pollution, and have much more likely to go to the hospital or have health risks associated with pollution. Actually, recently in 2017, the mayor's office passed an act that basically made them make a report annually about environmental racism, or specifically pollution in New York City. And in April of 2024, when the report was released, it showed that 50% of all residents in New York City lived in what they called environmental justice areas, which are areas where pollution was high, heavy, where rates of asthma were higher than the national average, and where people had disproportionate amounts of going to the hospital for certain diseases, specifically like respiratory diseases like asthma, like I mentioned. And of those residents, a quarter of them were below the poverty line, and 27% of them were Black, and over 45% of them were Hispanic. So you saw a large amount of people who looked like me, who were just non-white and were people of color, who were disproportionately affected by these illnesses and diseases. And it actually struck a nerve with me and struck a chord with me because I was like, we have all these amazing things. New York City has so much money. We are so affluent. We're so blessed to be. I'm so blessed to be in the city, to be in New York. I love it here. But even then, you still have these issues that have gone unseen, have gone unaddressed simply because the people who are affecting don't have the resources to speak out against it. And that's where my work really lies. I saw a lot, especially with a large amount of migrants coming to New York City under Mayor Eric Adams' new programs. We have over 800, I think it's 200,000 residents who have come in recently. And I personally know some of them, and I've personally worked with a lot of them. And the city's doing the best they can, but a lot of these residents end up living in areas that are not the best, who are consistently affected by the pollution that we see and have seen. And when you have that compounded with them moving into a new country where they may not have access to like resources as well, where they may feel ostracized or forced to assimilate into culture, but they may not speak the same language, it really compounds the issue and makes it even worse for them. So that's really where to get my point, that's really where my work centers. It's about empowering people within their own communities to speak for their own change. And I feel like that goes into themes you mentioned, Raheem, about empowering young people, youth activism, and that sense of like empowering people to act themselves. Because there's so much that we can do. We can speak on these topics. We can help promote change, but some of these issues don't affect everyone. And when it's coming from the mouth of the person it's affecting, when it's coming from the mouth of the person who truly is being impacted by an issue like pollution in low-income areas, that strikes a chord with people than anything else can. And specifically young people, because young people have such a way of words that usually that changes when you grow up, when you become an adult. They have a way to communicate their issues in such a eloquent manner that you don't often see. And that sense of passion really inspires people. It really promotes change in a way that you can't do when you grow up. So I think the Roots and Shoots Youth Council is a great example of that. When they promote us to work and act, I feel like it's really amazing. I've seen so many different projects from so many different people. We actually had our summit a few months ago where I got to see a bunch of the projects that the kids they're working on. It's amazing work they're doing. And I feel like with young activism, it's about giving, not exactly telling kids exactly what to do, but giving them a guiding hand to lead them down that path. So I think I've spoken a little too long. I'd love to hear more from everyone else. So thank
No,
you
no, no,
for.
not at all, not at all. So I did have a follow-up question, and then I'm gonna, sort of tell all the things that I've been thinking while what you had to say. I also want to know because I come from Pakistan, right? I'm a woman of color, and I've been advocating for different things like the right of children. I also advocate for women's rights, about climate change, and different things. And there are always some challenges that you get on the way. Everyone's challenges are are a little differently. And I just wanted to hear from you, from like a youth activist to another. What are some of the challenges that you face in your own activism journey?
I guess the biggest I've faced is usually not being taken seriously. A lot of the times people are like, oh, maybe he's just stat padding for his resume, for lack of a better term, or like they're just doing this because it looks cool for college applications. I know one of the hardest things I've had to deal with is a lot of the times I send to get like stuff done, you have to send a lot of emails and there's a lot of bureaucratic processes you have to go through. And one thing I've experienced is people just won't get back to you. And in a way that's different than like they'll put you aside, put you off because you're on the younger side. Like you don't have as you're not you may not know as much, you haven't been here as long as much, like you probably don't know everything. To an extent that is true. I obviously have not been here long enough to gain like a complete sense of information as someone's been in the field for maybe 20 years. But I feel like that doesn't make your work any less valuable because I know kids who have put in so much work. I know someone on the council, her name's Una. She's actually from Westchester County. She set up um, basically a climate conference in her county. It has over 200 people, and when she was going, has over 200 people attending in her inaugural version of it. And when she was planning it, I know she faced a lot of issues because she's 17, she's in high school, a junior. So when you have a 17-year-old girl specifically coming up to you, be like, "Hey, I want to put this together," she faced a lot of like, oh, are you sure you can do this? Are you sure? And she did it because she's amazing. She's smart, she's talented, and she has all this skill. But I feel like a lot with youth activism, you face a lot of let the big kids handle this, let the adults handle this. You sit at your own table and manage the medial tasks while we get the real stuff done. When actually it should be a collaboration between people. I feel like there is a lot of wisdom we can get from older people, people who've had that experience, who have been there. I don't want to dismiss that as important because I love that guiding hand. You need that wisdom, and there definitely is intelligence that comes with experience. But that does not mean that when you're young, you're completely incapable of handling those serious stuff.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree because I mean, my activism journey started very differently, and I think I got to face most of it with ICM and We the World. And so I've always been taken really seriously, been given that voice at the table and everything. But I have definitely experienced in other, ways and scenarios where you do have to send a lot of emails to be, taken really seriously because know, it is hard being a young activist, but it is really fulfilling work. It's not just one other thing on your college essay or college resume or whatever. I think it is something that stays with you for your entire life because someone that has learned how to stand up for themselves and other people around them about something they feel really passionate about, that is something that's a skill and that is an emotion and feeling that they're going to carry with them their entire life, no matter what walk of life they, choose to walk. So thank you so much for being on here, Preston. And I'm so glad that we actually got introduced because I feel like we can definitely work together on a couple of things. And thank you so much for all the difference that you're making. So
Thank
I wanna go to thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying thank you so much. Yeah, you can move on, no problem.
Yeah, welcome. So I just wanted to talk to Heidi a little now. So Heidi and I worked together for a long, long time. From one day that she called me up and said, "Hey, I want you to be on there for June 21st panel. Hi, you don't know about my organization, but let me tell you a little bit." That has to be one of the best beginnings of my life because that onset like a great journey of me learning about so many different people that are doing such great work. Like Preston here, met him. The latest meeting that we had, I met Jana for the first time. And so, time and time we make great people making great differences. And I like to give, for onboarding me on all of this and just introducing me to everyone. I'd give the credit to Heidi Little. So I want to know from you about International Children's Month, and I want to know about what you're doing, what is the plan for this year, and I also want to know a little bit more about the theme with respect to from a me to a we society. So
Amazing. Okay, so I want to give props to both of you guys. You're so inspiring. And this is why we do the work, right? Because you guys, the future generations, and all the power to you. Everyone has a unique set of challenges, right? New York's got, what, 160,000 homeless children, I heard. Last thing I heard. Okay, exposure to everything. I wasn't even thinking about environmental pollution in New York City, but of course, and 160,000 homeless children in New York City being exposed to all that pollution day and night. Like, hello, let's get on this thing and do it together. And we support the children. Their voices are so powerful. Raheen, Pakistan, I want to give you props because I've recently been involved in more and more and more international women's work, and the challenges that women are facing globally is really horrendous, to be quite honest. So it's like, I just want to say thank you so much. You always show up with so much grace, and you're ready. Give props to your family for helping you in this journey as well. Say thank you to everyone who's supporting you on the back end. Same with you, Preston. Whoever's supporting you on the back end, bless them. Thank you so much. Acknowledging the Roots and Shoots, Jane Goodall, we love her. And Rick, thank you for giving the children the platform that they should have to expose what they're doing in the world and to help move forward. Paperwork is totally a thing. We're working on legal toolkits for you guys so you can plug and play and go ahead and say, hey, you know what, you're not taking care of the water. Hey, you know what, you're not taking care of the land. Hey, you know what, you're not taking care of the air. So we've got those coming down the pipe. Hopefully they'll be housed on International Children's Month. You can just download the documents, put in who you want to address it to, and send it on out. And then you'll have a bunch of signatures to back you up underneath it that are already pre-existing plug and play organizational support. Okay, so that's our gift to you this year as we co-create the new story. Now, Rick, we've got to update Raheen's bio because she is now the acting youth director for International Children's Month. She's going to take it in the direction that she so chooses. I'm going to support her and Preston and whoever else I can support, okay, in all the different rooms that we are fighting for everybody in, okay, and not even fighting for. We are up leveling in full support. The fight word is out. Transformation is in. What's the new story? How can we make it so it works for all, right? We as an organization about how do we make a world that's equitable for all people, right? All living things to be working here together. So that's that. And did I answer your question? I think that I did. Yeah. Okay, good. Steer me back on course if you need to. Okay. What do they call it? Neurodivergent. I mean, there's all these new words for everybody and the way they think. I do 50,000 things at the same time. So yay. And like Raheen, yes, yay. So happy to have you here and honored. Preston, so happy to have you here and honored. Please let me know how I can support, how we can support, how I can do more work for you guys too of the back end. So I'm in service to the children and youth here. Preston, I'm new to you. You're new to me. We founded International Children's Month in 2013. There's been myself, grandmother Shannon Crossbear, and Ojibwe grandma from Lake Superior, grandfather Bob Challenger, who saved Earth Day with his $1.5 million. They were only going to have Earth Day one day, and he did a campaign across the planet and said, please, can we keep this going? He spent all his money to make sure we would continue to have Earth Day. And then, of course, Rick and Jana and Angel and everybody from We the World working together with us as well. We joined forces in 2017. And we're all behind the water. We did water medicine wheel work with grandfather Masaru Emoto from Japan and grandfather Golden Eagle, the last Paiute water keeper at the time. Now we have a water care explosion. Everybody's caring about the water. Let's go. More and more and more of that. So we've been able to, through collective positive action and joining our heart spaces, to make a lot of things happen. Yeah, there's a lot of email, but I just want to remind everybody who's listening, it all starts inside of the heart. It all starts inside of just letting go of any limiting belief and being open for it to work however it's going to work, because we never truly know how it's going to come down the pipe, right? It more often than not, it doesn't come in how you think it's going to come in. It comes in from somewhere else, another person, another beautiful heart coming into the picture that has a different way, has a different group of people, has a different network, right? And then we're all coming together right now. So I'm working on a tour called We Are Arising for 25-26. And it's a campaign and a tour, and it's all so we can see each other. So we're going to continue to work together, I hope, in solidarity and grace. I'm going to give it all back to Raheen now. Where are we going from here, Lady Light? Let's go. Let's grow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you said, it is definitely awesome that, me as a youth activist in Preston, Preston and I get to be here. But it is an honor to have people like you to be here to give us those opportunities. Because, and I'm sure, Preston, you also face this. There's a lot of people that give you an opportunity, but they don't give you a voice at the table. You and Rick have been the sort of people that have always given me the chance where, I can design whatever campaign you guys could guide me, but I am my own individual and I have that sort of power over, the role that I'm given. So I'm truly thankful for you being here. So yeah. And now I want to go on to Jana Larsen. We recently met. We totally connected. We even had a podcast after it, which was so amazing. I'm sad that your co-host couldn't make it, but it was so nice that Jana and I could even talk about like our high school experiences, which is so cool. So you've got to be one of the most funnest people that I know, and I've met many fun people. So I really mean it when I say it. So I want to know more about your work. I want to know more about your journey with We the World. And what are things that you are expecting right now? What are things that you're working on? What is it? What's going to be the next big news that we hear from Jana?
Well, I'm really excited about all the people that we're bringing on for 11 Days of Global Unity. It is a big project trying to get everybody to respond and get the bios and the headshots and then finding a time to meet. But I think we have a really exciting set of events planned. And then, of course, I'm always doing whatever I can with We the World, the background stuff. And at Preston, I'm going to be reaching out to you to see about your being on a podcast with me and Malcolm, because what we really want to do, Malcolm especially, really wants to reach out and hear the youth speaking about what's going on with the environment and the climate crisis. So and in every way that the environment is either helpful or not helpful because of, as you say, with pollution. So that is paramount, because our globe is in trouble, our earth is in trouble, and we need to hear. What I'm really noticing is that when I was young in body, I'm young in heart, but when I was younger, I really did need to have that outlet to be able to have my voice heard. And I know it's a struggle, and there's so many people that just don't get how great the youth are. They say, "Oh, youth today, kids today," and I just go, "Who are you talking about?" Because the kids I'm seeing, they're amazing. They are so smart. They're so articulate. They're so passionate. Who are you around? Because I just don't see it. So I hope that we can always give you a place to feel comfortable to be and to talk and to vent and cry and all those things that you need to be able to do when you're talking about these big problems and issues. And that anything that we can do, Rick, the whole team, me, I hope you'll reach out and just say, I need help.
Yeah.
Well, it's truly awesome that we get to have, people like you on here, because there's a lot of people that do undermine the youth, right? I'm really lucky I did not get to meet a lot of those people, right? I did not get to work with any of those people. And it's truly a blessing, right? Because we do hear, I mean, at least I've rarely heard like, oh, people of this generation, they just don't understand it. They don't take anything seriously. We do. We take seriously things that a lot of grown-ups do not. We observe things, the children right up until they're, teenagers and then young adults. They're really observant of their surroundings. I may be passionate about something really different, but someone maybe from the same environment, same community, maybe observing something really different, maybe want to work on something really different, because everyone has their own mission. And so I think you just gotta let them figure it out, and then support them in that process and journey. So I'm gonna hand it back to you, Jana, and to Rick for the conclusion. But it was great being here. International Children's Month and We the World, I've been working on a few campaigns for this year, because this year's theme is just enough. We've had enough. What is enough? Because when I first heard the theme, it's a word so open to interpretation that within this year and by June 2025, we want to explore every interpretation of this world through anything. If you want to produce a program with us, by that I mean any action days, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to Heidi, to Rick. If you're watching, wherever it is, you can have our emails through the website. I bet there's a billion ways you can reach out to us, and and then we can get started on exploring the theme for this year through. There's also going to be some things coming with time, with more people joining hands. We're going to have more great things coming our way. So yeah, it was great hosting this roundtable. It was great getting to meet Preston, and from hearing from you, Jana and Heidi, and obviously Rick, who gives the best introduction for me. I was flattered. So yeah.
Yeah, and thank you. And I just want to say, Preston, it's great to see you. And just so you realize, what I've been, um, uh, connecting with for 20 years is Jane Goodall. She was at the launch event in 2004 for 11 Days of Global Unity. And Roots and Shoots was part of that launch in 2004. Can you imagine that? With these giant peace doves. Jane brought her whole team up from Washington with the young people flying these giant peace doves. And I'm sure, Preston, you know about all of that, right? The giant peace doves, right? I've been hearing that there's going to be a big thing in LA, right? With the doves.
Yeah, if there's anything I can say about Jane is that she's very eccentric and she does love those peace stuffs. Yeah.
Right. So, but we've been working with Roots and Shoots since then. So it's like decades, and we did something called an urgent message from your children, which was a very powerful video um, platform for children under 13, like 12 years old and younger. So that was an important thing. The only thing that I wanted to ask, and before we, kind of close, because you mentioned Raheen as one of the topics, was this flood of disinformation and misinformation that's happening on social media. And I just wanted to see Preston and you, Raheen, what, how do you deal with that? What do you think the effects on young people, but certainly the effects on older people? There are these, you know, conspiracy theories that float around. And in the United States, for example, people think of immigrants as being dangerous and different. Um, but this is like a conspiracy theory, that's being spread around. I mean, I'm just saying one, but how do you both deal with that, and what do you think about what could be done to deal with that? Because I see that it's affecting life, in the USA and around the world.
Um, I guess
Yeah,
I'll
go
go.
ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the great question. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen conspiracy theories used on Instagram or TikTok, like, oh, climate change is real, it's a hoax being created by the government, et cetera, et cetera. I feel like the best way we can combat misinformation is simply through things like this, through podcasts, through recordings, through 11 days of global peace and unity. I feel like by simply putting out the correct information, we can let the masses know, at least the masses know that the environment, yes, it might be in trouble, but there are things we can do. I know going off one of Raheem's topics for earlier about helplessness and hopelessness, this plays a lot into that. A lot of the times misinformation is much more drastic. It's much more on the scary end than the situation we're commonly in. Like there's a common statistic stated that if we don't do anything about the environment, then we might be wiped out by 2050, which there is a lot of prudence that there's a lot of credibility to that stat. But I feel like a lot of the times it gives people the vibe that, oh, there's nothing we can do, so we might as well give up. When in reality, the point is that we need to act now. We need to be acting in the moment and put our best foot forward. If you look in history, we've had many issues like this. Unfortunately, if you look at the 1987 Montreal Protocol, which helped fix the ozone layer around the South Pole, people thought with carbons, wow, I messed that up, but with aerosols and air refrigerants, that we were going to destroy the ozone layer and be wiped out by UV radiation. The 1987 Montreal Protocol helped combat that. And fast forwarding 40 years, the ozone layer around the South Pole has been nearly repaired. And I feel like that's how we combat misinformation. We show the resiliency, not just of humans, but the environment. We show how if we put in the effort, nothing is impossible, and that all the conspiracy theories, all the hoaxes on the internet are simply ways to like rage bait to get you feeling helpless and to demotivate you from actually facilitating change. Raheem, I would love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what you have to say because at the end of the day, no matter how many, conspiracy theories are floating around, it's the real people, they understand, they research, they make a change, and they put their efforts towards it. For me, my biggest concern isn't people that are grown-ups because they can just simply put in a Google search, see if this is real or not, actually search it up, right? It's the younger kids that are of concern, right? Because you see so many young people on TikTok and on Instagram and just on social media. And for them to deal with, oh my God, is the world ending? Are we all just gonna die? That is a big thing. And I was actually part of a project that was by Cartoon Network, which I mean now is Warner Brothers. And it was just targeted towards me explaining. There's been two editions and I did both of them, which is really cool. But my dream come true to be on Cartoon Network. And it was basically just try to explain climate change. What is it? How do you deal with it? How are we all dealing with it? So it's like breaking a news, but in such a manner that these little kids are going to be like, okay, I actually want to turn the water tap off. I want to conserve energy. I want to plant more trees. I want to connect with nature. Instead of saying we're all gonna die, so you've got to do something. I don't know what you're gonna do, but you've got to do something because there's ways you do it. Now, do we need good social media regulation? We do, and that is for everything, not just climate change. That is for genocides that are happening around the world. That is for political things. We need a lot of regulation on social media as to what is going on around us. But things like, oh my God, the world's ending, that is something that I feel like the kids are not going to understand. They may be concerned about genocides, and there's a way that you communicate that too. So I think my biggest concern has always been how to communicate these things to the younger audience. And there are big companies like, Warner Brothers trying to make a difference, and including, little small activists in this entire big world, in their mission. And I'm like truly honored. So I feel like there is some difference happening, but social media, people that are handling on there, they need to and people especially that are posting. I mean, as an organization, we've always been really mindful. Something that I've noticed, that we've never said, oh my God, the world is ending and you must do something now. Are we going to go to Mars? No, there is no going to Mars. So we don't do stuff like that, right? We're not one of those conspiracy theorist societies and communities, and we don't spread that sort of thing. But instead, we're like, hey, this is a real problem. And I'm going to back that up with some facts. Here's a real solution. I'm going to back them up with a few facts. And then with each meeting and event, we sort of add on more people that are doing work in their own way, in their own community. And, you know, in hopes of inspiring people rather than, leaving them with a feeling of hopelessness and anxiety, So that's my take on it.
Thank you. So Jana, you want to take us home?
Yes, but first of all, I just want to say that the it's important to recognize the emotions that you have when you feel helpless and hopeful, and validate that feeling, because it is there and it is painful, but there's always reason to hope, and hope is a very positive, energizing emotion and consciousness to keep and to nurture. With that bit of advice, I'll go into our closing. Thank you all so much for what you are doing in the world. Truly, this has been really amazing. And thank all of you for watching this and for being a part of the 20th anniversary of 11 Days of Global Unity. Please go to we.net to get involved and even make a contribution if you want. Rick?
Yeah, thanks, Jana. And I agree. This has been a really amazing and powerful conversation. Thank you for being part of 11 Days of Global Unity, the 20th anniversary summit. And it's all about we, as we were saying, right? So, like, this is the W. um, um, let's go from being a me society, the M, to a we society, and that's why we launched we.net. So together we can create a world that works for all. Thank you all so much, and bye bye.